Once a first wife *******, once a first wife by Norman Arkawy, she writhed under the judge's merciless scrutiny. The charge against her was surely a most grievous one, marital fidelity. Transcriber's note: this text was produced from Fantastic Universe, October 1954. Extensive research did not uncover any evidence that the U.S. copyright on this publication was renewed. The World of 2136, when seen through the eyes of a woman unjustly accused and fighting to remain an individual in her own right, can take on somber overtones of high tragedy. Norman Arkawy has a rare talent for looking ahead and interpreting the future in realistically compelling terms. Geneva, the 11th of December, SP. The first contested suit for divorce in 83 years was brought to trial today before the Tehran High Court in this city. Justices Schluss, Jones and Clyuch presided at the unprecedented proceeding in which Merle Wison petitioned for a divorce from his first wife, Sar. The petitioner's case, a charge of sexual incompetence, was presented today. Tomorrow, Mrs. Wison's attorney will begin the unusual contesting action. The court's decision is expected tomorrow or the following day. Since the middle of the 21st century, when the Uniform Divorce Code was adopted throughout the system, grounds for divorce have included only incompatibility, sexual incompetence, and sterility. The Wison case, however, is the first in history in which one of the stigma charges has been used. In every previous divorce action, petition has been made on the grounds of incompatibility and has been filed mutually by both husband and first wife. When questioned by this reporter, Mr. Wison said that he would have preferred to seek the divorce less sensationally, on the usual incompatibility charge, but that his first wife has refused to agree to an uncontested action. Mrs. Wison made no comment. Sar dropped the news strip into the disposal. A sardonic smile curled her lip. "I'll comment," she muttered, "tomorrow, in court." Dag yawned and stretched luxuriously. She sat up on the couch and looked searchingly at her sister. "You must love him very much," she said. "Love him?" Sar laughed, and said viciously, "I detest him." Dag reached into her pocket for her pack of Happys. She put a barcastum in her mouth and offered the pack to Sar. They nibbled in silence. "I don't understand," Dag said, finally, shaking her head. "If you feel that way, why don't you let him have the divorce? Why keep him if you hate him?" Sar smiled indulgently at her sister. "I don't want to keep him. I want him to keep me." The blank look on Dag's face clearly indicated her bewilderment. "I'm 41," Sar explained. "If I'm divorced now, what chance do you suppose I'll have to become a first wife again? It's hard enough getting a man when you're young. And I have no intention of becoming a second wife. The first wife pension is too good to give up. In 9 more years I'll be eligible for it. Then Merle can have his divorce and get himself another first wife. But not until then. What if the court grants the divorce? How can they? SAR demanded. My competence can't be questioned, no matter how many bribed witnesses Merle may have. Anyone can look at the record and see. And the 6 sturdy children who bear my name are certainly evidence that I'm not sterile. No, Dag, she summed up, I'm not going to lose my rating. I don't know which one of Merle's second wives aspires to be Mrs. Wisson, but whoever she is, she's going to be disappointed unless she's willing to wait 9 years. And by then, she added wryly, she'll be too old to suit Merle. I'm afraid she'll have to be satisfied to remain a second wife. SAR laughed. Once a second wife, always a second wife, she said. Or, what's more to the point, once a first wife. The courtroom was crowded the next morning when SAR Wisson's attorney rose to present his case. It was up to him to disprove the charge of sexual incompetence, a charge which his opponent had attempted to substantiate solely on the testimony of SAR's husband and several men who claimed to have had unsatisfactory love affairs with her. It was up to him to discredit the testimony of these men, and establish the fact of SAR's competence. Honorable members of the court, he began. I shall prove beyond any doubt that the charge against my client, Mrs. SAR Wisson, has no basis in fact. Having established her competence, I shall request the court to deny the petition for divorce. If it please the court, he announced, I should like to call Mrs. SAR Wisson to the stand. When SAR had made herself comfortable in the seat opposite the judge's dais, her lawyer began the examination. Mrs. Wisson, he said, emphasizing the title that only a first wife is entitled to, do you understand the charge made against you? Do you know what sexual incompetence is? I do. To the best of your knowledge, are you incompetent? I am not. Object, shouted Merle's attorney. Her competence or incompetence is something which she is not in a position to judge. Naturally, she believes herself to be. Justice Clyouch, the presiding officer of the court, waved the attorney to silence. Overruled, he said. The woman has a right to speak in her own defense. However, the court will take note of the source of the testimony, Counselor. Now, Mrs. Wisson, SAR's lawyer resumed, did you hear the testimony of the witnesses called by the petitioner yesterday? I refer to the 4 men who said they had been your lovers. I heard what they said, and it was a pack of lies. Please, Mrs. Wisson, the lawyer cautioned, just answer the questions I ask you. Don't elaborate. Now then, did you ever have affairs with any of these men? I did not. Do you know them? Have you ever seen them before? I know John Barra, SAR replied. He's my husband's business partner. The other 3 I never saw before in my life. There was a mild ripple of hushed comment among the spectators in the room. The bailiffs quickly restored order and the judge motioned the lawyer to continue. I should like to submit as evidence these certified photostats of the educational records of SAR Wisson, nee Malcolm, the lawyer announced. The papers were accepted by the clerk of the court and labeled as Exhibits A, B, and C. Copies of the evidence were handed to the justices, who studied them intently while waiting for SAR's attorney to continue. "You will note," he said, "that Mrs. Wisson's grades in sexual education are all excellent. Class 9 he read, Fundamental Biology, Grade 1. Class 11, Basic Sex, Grade 1. Class 12, Adolescent Sexology, Grade 2. Class 13, History of Romance, Grade 1. Class 14, Sexual Techniques." Justice Clyuch interrupted him by pressing the hold button, causing the amber light on the front of the rostrum to flash warningly. "There's no need to list them all, Counselor," he said. "The court recognizes the evidence submitted. We can read the reports." "Yes, Your Honor. But I should like to point out especially that Mrs. Wisson was the top honor student in her class in Advanced Sexual Techniques in Class 21," the lawyer pursued. "As a result, she received the Aphrodite Award at the University Commencement Exercises in 2116. How can such a woman be called sexually incompetent? Obviously, she is not only competent, she's expert." Merle's lawyer rose to his feet. "Objection," he said calmly, matter-of-factly. "We do not contest the lady's aptitude 20 years ago, when she last attended school. We do question her ability now, today, this year. It is regrettable that time and age can cause even the best of us to lose his or her talent, but such is the way of nature. And it is our contention that, regardless of her superior record in school, SAR Wisson is sexually incompetent today." SAR leaped to her feet. "That's not true," she shouted angrily. "It's not true." Tears welled in her eyes and there was a catch in her voice as she said defiantly, "I'm only 41. I'm not old." The courtroom hummed excitedly over the dramatic outburst. SAR felt as if a million eyes were staring at her, a million tongues talking about her. She was conscious of an awkward stiffness in every part of her body, which was suddenly a strange, uncomfortable garment she wished she could throw off. She sat down again, folding her hands in her lap, nervously clasping and unclasping her fingers. Bowing her head, she fixed her gaze on the floor. Shame was an emotion she rarely felt. She felt it now, covering her, pervading the air around her. It was stifling. The buzzing in the courtroom grew louder, more excited. The full meaning of the accusation suddenly opened up to her and she realized how serious it was. Yesterday she had laughed at the absurdity of the charge. Now she was infuriated by its viciousness. They actually meant to ruin her. Stripped of her first wife respectability, at 41 she might not even have the opportunity of becoming a second wife. And, although she would never be satisfied as a second wife, at least she would still live comfortably and receive a modest pension when she retired. But who would want an aging, incompetent woman, even as a second wife? There would be only one thing left for her to do. She would be forced to enlist in one of the publics. That, or neutralization. And she could not submit to neutralization. Life in the publics was not pleasant, but neutralization was no life at all. Living in the publics would be hell on earth. Her rations would be reduced to Class C, and she would be assigned living space in a 12-quarter dorm. She'd be given a 4-hour job and be required to put in 4 hours more in the service. But she would still be a woman. Unneutralized, she would live. Live. Yes, she would live. She would live to cater to the men who utilized the government's public sexological stations. So many men, coarse, rough, unmatable men. The thought sickened her. The warning light on the judge's rostrum flashed on, and the noise in the room gradually subsided. Order was restored. Justice Clyuch cautioned SAR not to disturb the decorum of the court again. After SAR's lawyer had made a formal apology for his client's unusual conduct, his opponent pursued the argument he had begun before the outburst. "We maintain that SAR Wison is incompetent," he repeated. "We have shown," he continued, "that not only her husband, but also 4 other men have recently been dissatisfied with her. We have 5 witnesses attesting to her incompetence now. We are not concerned with her ability in the past. We have 5 witnesses," he emphasized, "who state, from personal experience, that she is incompetent." He smiled triumphantly. "Does the respondent have one who will dispute our claim?" SAR stared at him in awe, as one would stare at an unbelievable monstrosity, born in a fertilely imaginative mind and portrayed in the TDs by an actor suitably deformed by the genius of makeup. But this was no TD image. This monster was real, and he was standing only a few feet away, leering at her, challenging her, hurting her, condemning her. They knew that she could bring forth no witnesses in her defense. That was what made the challenge so cruel. They knew that she had had no lovers since before her first child was born, 19 years ago. She had been a virtuous wife, a faithful wife. And now they were turning her very virtue against her. "Do you have such a witness?" Justice Clyuch asked her attorney. "I ask the court's permission to confer privately with my client," the lawyer replied, rising hastily from his seat. "Granted." "No," SAR said abruptly. Her lawyer had hardly started across the room to the witness seat when her voice stopped him. "No," SAR repeated, "we have no witness." "Your Honors," her lawyer said hurriedly, "I request that my client's remark be stricken from the record. It was not made in reply to a question, nor was it on advice of counsel." To SAR he said, "Please, Mrs. Wison, do not volunteer information before you consult me." "Why not?" SAR asked sadly. "There is no one." "What good would it do to consult you?" "Please, Mrs. Wison," the lawyer insisted. "Perhaps there is someone whom you've forgotten. Perhaps you'll remember if you discuss it with me." "Perhaps." "No," SAR pronounced, finally. There has been no one. I won't invent a mythical lover. We have no witness. The lawyer returned to his seat dejectedly. Sar had ruined whatever chance he might have had to bring in a false witness to dispute those presented by her husband. If the court accepted the testimony of the 4 supposed lovers, the case was lost. Even without their testimony, it was a toss-up between Sar's word and her husband's. After all, records of an ability possessed 20 years ago really proved nothing about the present. So what if she had been an exceptionally apt student in school? After 20 years, she might be different, altogether different. She might very well be incompetent. Sar, too, knew that she had spoiled her own opportunity to counteract the fraudulent testimony of her husband's friends. Yet, although she was afraid of the consequences of losing the case, she could not bring herself to lie about her private life. She could not claim lovers she had not had. It was ridiculous, she knew, in this day and age, but she was actually proud of her fidelity. She watched the 3 judges lean together in conference. The million eyes still peered at her. They pawed at her body, probed at her thoughts. She fidgeted under their merciless scrutiny as the minutes crept by and the judges' conference continued. "Stop!" She wanted to shout. "Stop this torture! Say something, anything. But don't make me sit here like a freak on exhibition." Justices Jones and Schluss straightened in their seats on either side of the presiding judge. Chief Justice Clyouch cleared his throat importantly. "Mrs. Wisson," he said, "the court finds it impossible to properly evaluate all the evidence presented in this case. It is our judgment that the only way to determine your competence is to have an impartial, reliable person test you. Do you agree to submit to such a test?" She nodded her head quickly. Of course she would agree. She'd agree to anything if they'd only let her get off the stand, off display. "My colleagues and I want to select for this test a man who is impartial and whose judgment is valued by this court," Clyouch continued, strangely nervous. He colored slightly before adding, "I have been nominated." "Do you have any objections?" he asked her. Sar smiled at him. She began to relax in the presence of his archaic modesty, the nervous shyness, the faint blush. Momentarily, she pitied him in his embarrassment and forgot, momentarily, to pity herself. She smiled at him. There was certainly no reason to object to him any more than to any other man. Less, perhaps. He had a gentleness about him that Sar decided was rather attractive. But she appreciated the humor in being tested for competence by a man whose own competence might be questioned. Justice Clyouch was a middle-aged widower whose first wife had died 3 years ago, from boredom, some people said. He belonged to the small sect who called themselves monogamists and had no second wives, and, since his wife's death, he had been living a monastic life. But, although he may not have been the best qualified man for the job, SAR was quite willing to have him conduct the test. In fact, she reflected, he would probably be easy to convince. When the court convened the next morning, every seat in the spectators section was filled. The room was hushed in expectancy as the judges filed in and took their seats on the dais. Justice Clyouch called the court to order. Every ear in the room strained to hear his decision. At the close of yesterday's session he began, it was agreed that the court conduct a test to determine the competence of Sar Wisson, accused of incompetence by her husband. The test has been completed. It is the opinion of the court that the charge against Mrs. Wisson has no basis in fact. The request for divorce on the grounds of sexual incompetence is, therefore, denied. An excited babbling swept across the room. It quickly subsided when the warning light indicated that the judge had not finished his pronouncement. However, Clyouch continued, Mrs. Wisson has informed the court that she no longer objects to the divorce and that she is willing to agree to the action on the usual grounds of incompatibility. Dag was amazed at the sudden turn of events. She couldn't believe what she saw on the news strip, screaming in maximum bold type. Wisson divorced. And, in letters only slightly less emphatic, first wife withdraws objection. Dag stared at the amazing heads, then began rapidly reading the story aloud to herself. Merle Wisson received a divorce from his first wife, Sar, 10 minutes after the court had refused the divorce on the charge of incompetence. In a sudden reversal of position, Sar Wisson agreed to the separation for reasons of incompatibility immediately after she had won her unprecedented contesting action. For the record, Justice Clyouch. The news strip fluttered to the floor as Dag's lifeless toss missed the disposal opening. She sat dazedly, watching the news machine disgorge strip after strip onto the growing pile of paper at her feet. Too stunned for the moment to get up and turn the machine off, she was vaguely thankful that she had set it only for local news. If the whole edition was allowed to accumulate on the floor, she'd have to dig herself out. The machine clicked off automatically after a last strip floated down to the pile on the floor. Aroused from her reverie as the news machine snapped itself off, Dag stood up. She searched her pockets for a barcastum, found one in a crumpled pack and slid it into her mouth. She nibbled thoughtfully. Ignoring the mess of strips on the floor, she headed for the door, determined to get to the bottom of the mystery of Sar's change of heart. Half an hour later, she was pressing the call button of Sar's apartment. The door was opened by a tall, distinguished-looking man. Dag brushed by him abruptly and walked into the room. She saw her sister at the bar, mixing a couple of drinks. Sar, she exclaimed. What happened? I thought you were going to fight it. Sar looked up and smiled a greeting. Hello, Dag, she said. What happened? Dag repeated anxiously. I changed my mind, Sar explained. Woman's prerogative. But what about the pension, and the comforts and security? Sar laughed softly. It turns out that has nothing to do with divorcing Merle. But you said. I said, once a first wife, always a first wife. Sar reminded her. Sar turned to the distinguished-looking man, who had been watching silently, listening to the exchange between the two women, a faint smile on his lips. Ken, this is my sister, Dag. Dag, she said, completing the introduction, I'd like you to meet Justice Clyouch. End of the Project Gutenberg ebook. Once a first wife. Updated editions will replace the previous one, the old editions will be renamed. Creating the works from print editions not protected by U.S. copyright law means that no one owns a United States copyright in these works, so the Foundation, and you, can copy and distribute it in the United States without permission and without paying copyright royalties. Special rules, set forth in the general terms of use part of this license, apply to copying and distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept and trademark. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark, and may not be used if you charge for an ebook, except by following the terms of the trademark license, including paying royalties for use of the Project Gutenberg trademark. If you do not charge anything for copies of this ebook, complying with the trademark license is very easy. You may use this ebook for nearly any purpose, such as creation of derivative works, reports, performances and research. Project Gutenberg ebooks may be modified and printed and given away. You may do practically anything in the United States with ebooks not protected by U.S. copyright law. Redistribution is subject to the trademark license, especially commercial redistribution. Start. Full license. The full Project Gutenberg license. Please read this before you distribute or use this work to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting the free distribution of electronic works. By using or distributing this work, or any other work associated in any way with the phrase Project Gutenberg, you agree to comply with all the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license available with this file or online at www.gutenberg.org/license. Section 1. General Terms of Use and Redistributing Project Gutenberg Trademark Symbol Electronic Works 1.0. By reading or using any part of this Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work, you indicate that you have read, understand, agree to and accept all the terms of this license and intellectual property, trademark/copyright, agreement. If you do not agree to abide by all the terms of this agreement, you must cease using and return or destroy all copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in your possession. If you paid a fee for obtaining a copy of or access to a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work and you do not agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement, you may obtain a refund from the person or entity to whom you paid the fee as set forth in paragraph 1.e.8. 1.b Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark. It may only be used on or associated in any way with an electronic work by people who agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement. There are a few things that you can do with most Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works even without complying with the full terms of this agreement. See paragraph 1.c below. There are a lot of things you can do with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works if you follow the terms of this agreement and help preserve free future access to Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. See paragraph 1.e below. 1.c. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the Foundation or PGLAF, owns a compilation copyright in the collection of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. Nearly all the individual works in the collection are in the public domain in the United States. If an individual work is unprotected by copyright law in the United States and you are located in the United States, we do not claim a right to prevent you from copying, distributing, performing, displaying or creating derivative works based on the work as long as all references to Project Gutenberg are removed. Of course, we hope that you will support the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting free access to electronic works by freely sharing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works in compliance with the terms of this agreement for keeping the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol name associated with the work. You can easily comply with the terms of this agreement by keeping this work in the same format with its attached full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license when you share it without charge with others. 1.d. The copyright laws of the place where you are located also govern what you can do with this work. Copyright laws in most countries are in a constant state of change. If you are outside the United States, check the laws of your country in addition to the terms of this agreement before downloading, copying, displaying, performing, distributing or creating derivative works based on this work or any other Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. The Foundation makes no representations concerning the copyright status of any work in any country other than the United States. 1.e Unless you have removed all references to Project Gutenberg. 1.e.1. The following sentence, with active links to, or other immediate access to, the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license must appear prominently whenever any copy of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, any work on which the phrase Project Gutenberg appears, or with which the phrase Project Gutenberg is associated, is accessed, displayed, performed, viewed, copied or distributed. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. 1.e.2. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is derived from texts not protected by U.S. copyright law, does not contain a notice indicating that it is posted with permission of the copyright holder, the work can be copied and distributed to anyone in the United States without paying any fees or charges. If you are redistributing or providing access to a work with the phrase Project Gutenberg associated with or appearing on the work, you must comply either with the requirements of paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 or obtain permission for the use of the work and the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark as set forth in paragraphs 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.3. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is posted with the permission of the copyright holder, your use and distribution must comply with both paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 and any additional terms imposed by the copyright holder. Additional terms will be linked to the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license for all works posted with the permission of the copyright holder found at the beginning of this work. 1.e.4. Do not unlink or detach or remove the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license terms from this work, or any files containing a part of this work or any other work associated with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. 1.e.5. Do not copy, display, perform, distribute or redistribute this electronic work, or any part of this electronic work, without prominently displaying the sentence set forth in paragraph 1.e.1 with active links or immediate access to the full terms of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. 1.e.6. You may convert to and distribute this work in any binary, compressed, marked up, non-proprietary or proprietary form, including any word processing or hypertext form. However, if you provide access to or distribute copies of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work in a format other than plain vanilla ASCII or other format used in the official version posted on the official Project Gutenberg trademark symbol website, www.gutenberg.org, you must, at no additional cost, fee or expense to the user, provide a copy, a means of exporting a copy, or a means of obtaining a copy upon request, of the work in its original plain vanilla ASCII or other form. Any alternate format must include the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license as specified in paragraph 1.e.1. 1.e.7. Do not charge a fee for access to, viewing, displaying, performing, copying or distributing any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works unless you comply with paragraph 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.8. You may charge a reasonable fee for copies of or providing access to or distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works provided that you pay a royalty fee of 20% of the gross profits you derive from the use of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works calculated using the method you already use to calculate your applicable taxes. The fee is owed to the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, but he has agreed to donate royalties under this paragraph to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Royalty payments must be paid within 60 days following each date on which you prepare, or are legally required to prepare, your periodic tax returns. Royalty payments should be clearly marked as such and sent to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation at the address specified in Section 4. Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. You provide a full refund of any money paid by a user who notifies you in writing, or by email, within 30 days of receipt that he does not agree to the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. You must require such a user to return or destroy all copies of the works possessed in a physical medium and discontinue all use of and all access to other copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. You provide, in accordance with paragraph 1.f.3, a full refund of any money paid for a work or a replacement copy, if a defect in the electronic work is discovered and reported to you within 90 days of receipt of the work. You comply with all other terms of this agreement for free distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. 1.e.9. If you wish to charge a fee or distribute a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work or group of works on different terms than are set forth in this agreement, you must obtain permission in writing from the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the manager of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark. Contact the Foundation as set forth in Section 3 below. 1.f1.f.1 Project Gutenberg volunteers and employees expend considerable effort to identify, do copyright research on, transcribe and proofread works not protected by U.S. copyright law in creating the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection. Despite these efforts, Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, and the medium on which they may be stored, may contain defects such as, but not limited to, incomplete, inaccurate or corrupt data, transcription errors, a copyright or other intellectual property infringement, a defective or damaged disk or other medium, a computer virus, or computer codes that damage or cannot be read by your equipment. 1.f.2 Limited warranty, disclaimer of damages, except for the right of replacement or refund described in paragraph 1.f.3, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, and any other party distributing a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work under this agreement, disclaim all liability to you for damages, costs and expenses, including legal fees. You agree that you have no remedies for negligence, strict liability, breach of warranty or breach of contract except those provided in paragraph 1.f.3. You agree that the Foundation, the trademark owner, and any distributor under this agreement will not be liable to you for actual, direct, indirect, consequential, punitive or incidental damages even if you give notice of the possibility of such damage. 1.f.3 Limited right of replacement or refund, If you discover a defect in this electronic work within 90 days of receiving it, you can receive a refund of the money, if any, you paid for it by sending a written explanation to the person you received the work from. If you received the work on a physical medium, you must return the medium with your written explanation. The person or entity that provided you with the defective work may elect to provide a replacement copy in lieu of a refund. If you received the work electronically, the person or entity providing it to you may choose to give you a second opportunity to receive the work electronically in lieu of a refund. If the second copy is also defective, you may demand a refund in writing without further opportunities to fix the problem. 1.f.4 Except for the limited right of replacement or refund set forth in paragraph 1.f.3, this work is provided to you as is, with no other warranties of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to warranties of merchantability or fitness for any purpose. 1.f.5 Some states do not allow disclaimers of certain implied warranties or the exclusion or limitation of certain types of damages. If any disclaimer or limitation set forth in this agreement violates the law of the state applicable to this agreement, the agreement shall be interpreted to make the maximum disclaimer or limitation permitted by the applicable state law. The invalidity or unenforceability of any provision of this agreement shall not void the remaining provisions. 1.f.6 Indemnity. You agree to indemnify and hold the foundation, the trademark owner, any agent or employee of the foundation, anyone providing copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in accordance with this agreement, and any volunteers associated with the production, promotion and distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, harmless from all liability, costs and expenses, including legal fees, that arise directly or indirectly from any of the following which you do or cause to occur. A. Distribution of this or any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. B. Alteration, modification, or additions or deletions to any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, and C. Any defect you cause. Section 2. Information about the mission of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol is synonymous with the free distribution of electronic works in formats readable by the widest variety of computers, including obsolete, old, middle-aged and new computers. It exists because of the efforts of hundreds of volunteers and donations from people in all walks of life. Volunteers and financial support to provide volunteers with the assistance they need are critical to reaching Project Gutenberg trademark symbol's goals and ensuring that the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection will remain freely available for generations to come. In 2001, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation was created to provide a secure and permanent future for Project Gutenberg trademark symbol and future generations. To learn more about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation and how your efforts and donations can help, see sections 3 and 4 and the Foundation information page at www.gutenberg.org. Section 3. Information about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation is a non-profit 501(c)(3) educational corporation organized under the laws of the state of Mississippi and granted tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service. The Foundation's IN or Federal Tax Identification Number is 64-6221541. Contributions to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation are tax-deductible to the full extent permitted by U.S. federal laws and your state's laws. The Foundation's business office is located at 809 North 1500 West, Salt Lake City, UT 84116, 801-596-1887. Email contact links and up-to-date contact information can be found at the Foundation's website and official page at www.gutenberg.org/contact section 4. Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol depends upon and cannot survive without widespread public support and donations to carry out its mission of increasing the number of public domain and licensed works that can be freely distributed in machine-readable form accessible by the widest array of equipment including outdated equipment. Many small donations, $1 to $5,000, are particularly important to maintaining tax-exempt status with the IRS. The Foundation is committed to complying with the laws regulating charities and charitable donations in all 50 states of the United States. Compliance requirements are not uniform and it takes a considerable effort, much paperwork and many fees to meet and keep up with these requirements. We do not solicit donations in locations where we have not received written confirmation of compliance. To send donations or determine the status of compliance for any particular state, visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. While we cannot and do not solicit contributions from states where we have not met the solicitation requirements, we know of no prohibition against accepting unsolicited donations from donors in such states who approach us with offers to donate. International donations are gratefully accepted, but we cannot make any statements concerning tax treatment of donations received from outside the United States. U.S. laws alone swamp our small staff. Please check the Project Gutenberg web pages for current donation methods and addresses. Donations are accepted in a number of other ways including checks, online payments and credit card donations. To donate, please visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. Section 5. General information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. Professor Michael S. Hart was the originator of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept of a library of electronic works that could be freely shared with anyone. For 40 years, he produced and distributed Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks with only a loose network of volunteer support. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks are often created from several printed editions, all of which are confirmed as not protected by copyright in the US unless a copyright notice is included. Thus, we do not necessarily keep ebooks in compliance with any particular paper edition. Most people start at our website, which has the main PG search facility, www.gutenberg.org. This website includes information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol, including how to make donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, how to help produce our new ebooks, and how to subscribe to our email newsletter to hear about new ebooks.